How do I start this video? This is going to be a really hard video, guys. Just sometimes saying the words out loud, it's really painful, because you just don't want to believe it sometimes. But I lost my dad on December 1st, 2021, on a Wednesday at 11:31 p.m. Yeah, he has finished this life on this earth, and he has moved on. I was really debating on making this video, and I wanted to wait a little bit for a few reasons. I wanted to kind of get my thoughts collected, which I don't think it will be very soon before my thoughts get collected from this. This is all very new to me, and it's very painful, and it's hard. It's really hard. It's been a really hard month for me, to be honest. I know that there's a lot of people that lost loved ones out there, and it's never easy to lose someone that you love. My father was an amazing man, and I wanted to make this video kind of as a tribute to him, as well as just easing my heart, being able to talk out loud with you guys, sharing my pain, my sadness, my happiness, and hopefully you can find some joy and positivity in this video. I really don't want to make negative videos on the internet. I think there's already enough negativity that's running around out there. And I always try to do things with love, but when times are sad, they're sad. From my last update video, you guys probably know, or maybe you don't, that, my whole family and I, we got COVID. My mom and I, we recovered pretty much to 100%, but my father was not able to. And he was pretty strong and healthy overall. Just a few days before he got sick, he was raking the leaves outside and doing yard work, and we were all out there laughing, having a good time. He just went from 100 to 0 really quick, really, really quick. And that was so hard to see, because it was like almost a shock, He was my Superman, and just watching him deteriorate like that so quickly, I was almost in disbelief on what was happening. If you guys are curious, yes, he was fully vaccinated. He had all the vaccines. What happened with him was that he was taking some other medications for his arthritis. I believe it was some sort of steroid that was strongly lowering his immune system. So the virus hit him a lot harder, and it really destroyed him. So that was something that we did not see coming, unfortunately. He was an amazing guy. I'm so proud to be his son, for sure. So these past few weeks, you probably also noticed I was releasing a lot of videos, or I've been trying to. These videos, I've been just trying to take my mind off of things. That's why I was kind of pushing out some videos. I took some time off of work. Whenever I'm able to make videos and do YouTube, I feel the happiest and the most fulfillest. So I've been here just producing content and trying to take my mind and not be in such a gloomy state all the time. But I also didn't want to ignore what was going on. So I made sure to give myself proper time, throughout the day for me to grieve and for me to think about my feelings and my thoughts. But I didn't want to dwell on them constantly 24/7. I just didn't feel like that was healthy. So I've been trying to do some more productive things when I can, and still just keep busy and still live my life and try to push forward and get past this part of my life, because I believe that we're all going to be going through hard times in life, and depending on how we overcome these hard times define us as a person. So I want to make my dad proud, continue to make him proud, and show him that I can live my best life and that he has raised me so well to be able to push forward and be strong, take care of mom, and just live, love, and be amazing. Just be the best son that I could be still. And just, again, constantly making him proud. He never really asked much from me. Throughout my life, He was always a quieter dad, but he showed a lot of his love through actions. He never really told it to me. He worked so hard. He owned a Chinese restaurant, and he worked pretty much 7 days a week for a long time, a very long time. I want to say it was about 10 years he owned that restaurant, and he worked so hard. And he got half days on Sundays off, which were my favorite days because then we can have a really awesome lunch together. But he really wanted to still show his love and support to me without ever burdening me. He always trusted me that I would make the right choices and decisions, and whenever I fell, he knew that I would get up 2 times stronger, 10 times stronger. He always trusted me, and I felt that. And that's what really built up my strength, myself. And I couldn't thank him and love him enough for that. You know, he always had that trust and love. You know, I know there's some parents sometimes that want to really micromanage and be there every step of the way for their child, which I don't know if it was a combination my dad wanted to and couldn't because he was just always working, but also it just came with he wanted me to feel like I was in control and that I could make a choice. And that was something that I really, really appreciated my dad for, just letting me take the reins and push forward in my life. So thank you, Dad. Thank you for that. Even though he was working all the time, he still found time to be there for me and just, again, show that I was his guy. You know, I was the treasure of his world. I remember in elementary school, before I'd go walk to school in the morning, about 30 minutes to 15 minutes before, he would come outside and play basketball with me. That was probably one of my favorite moments with my dad. We would just shoot hoops, and I would always be amazed on how far he could shoot the ball. He loved basketball. I mean, we both aren't very tall, so we never really competed or played for any teams, but we loved to watch it together and just kind of play together when we could, and he was such a good shooter. And I remember we'd just be shooting the ball, passing it back and forth. Little words were exchanged, but what was exchanged was the time together. And I think that is the most important thing, because sometimes you can share long moments with someone talking, lots of words exchanged, but nothing was built upon that session, that time. But what is truly built is just quality time together. And quality time does not mean that you have to be constantly talking with someone. It's just sharing that presence, that moment, and doing something meaningful with each other. And that time with my dad was very meaningful. And it really, really was an important part of my childhood. Again, you know, my dad didn't really sit me down and try to teach me about life, tell me about things that there are the wrong or right turns. But he taught me, again, with his actions, the type of man that he is. I wanted to always follow in that direction, at least in that mindset that he had. He was such a hard worker, and he always got things done. He was always on time, and he was just a very respectful man, and I always looked up to that. I always thought that is the life that I want to live. Not necessarily working, 24/7 in a Chinese restaurant, but having that work ethic, that drive, knowing when things do need to get done, you get them done. Knowing when things are important, you make them important. And that's what my dad did. And it was incredible. There were 2 things that I learned from my dad that he told me that just stuck out with me, or stuck out to me, I should say. It's so interesting because, like I said, he never says anything really, but these things he told me, and one of them is just so random, but it was when he was dropping me off at work for my first job in his 1999 Toyota Camry, which he gave to me. I remember he was dropping me off at Walgreens in the front of the store, and I got out of the car, the passenger side, and I walked in front of the car and I went into the store. And later that night, after he got off of work and I came home from work, he sat me down and said, I hope you had a really good day. He was just really proud that I had my first day. He said, I just want to tell you one thing though. when you get out of a car, make sure that you walk behind it, because a car usually will drive forward, and it's very dangerous to get out of a car and walk in front of the car as you did. Because if I wasn't paying attention and I just automatically pushed on the gas, I would have hit you. And that just stuck with me. And every time I got out of a moving car, or not a moving car, I wasn't like jumping out of cars. Every time I just got out of a car, I always made it a habit to walk behind it, just to be able to, I guess, have that extra sense of security and safeness. And that just stuck with me so much. Like, I just tried to apply that to my life as much as I could, and also just being more observant. I think that was a moment where I just tried to observe more around me. I was just so impressed that my dad picked up on such a little thing like that, which is kind of common sense, but I just wouldn't have thought of that, and I just was like so impressed by that. And the second thing that really just kind of stood out with me that he told me was when I was trying to quit my job, my first software engineering job. I was getting burnt out like usual. Most of my jobs, I get burnt out very quickly. And he was telling me, I totally respect your decision. I want you to find a new job, something that you don't feel burnt out in and that you feel fulfilled. And I just want you to know that it is easier to ride a sick horse to find a new horse. And he was kind of referring to, like, don't just quit your job, be out of a job, and then find a new job. It's easier if you have your old job and then you find a new job with it. As probably a little bit more modern terms would be, it's easier to drive your old broken car to find a new car, instead of walking, because it's harder to like walk, of course, to find a car or find a horse. So it's just, kind of stick with it. Stick with what you have for now until you can find yourself something new and better. And just don't try to completely, I guess, cut yourself off of everything at once, because it's going to be a lot more difficult. So that kind of stuck with me too. I think that one is a little bit more situational, but I really appreciated the advice he gave me, because it was something very, I guess, out of the blue, very surprising to hear from my dad. I really enjoyed the times that I shared with my dad. It wasn't as much as it could have been. Of course, when someone leaves your life, you always look back and think that there could have been more times that we could have spent together. It's always like that. It's always like that. And I was like talking into some of my most recent videos about wanting more independence, breaking away from the family to go find myself a little bit more. And of course, that thought process was when I thought they would be here forever, of course. And it's hard. It's hard to look back at those times and not beat yourself up about it, but that is not healthy to do. I want to still live my life to the fullest, make him proud, and still be on the track of the son that he saw in me. And I want to just do things with love like he taught me and showed me. And he did so much for me. He did so much for my family and for others as well. He was a very caring man. I didn't really have like very many special moments, but the moments that we did share with each other were very meaningful to me. Like one very special meal that we shared together, like a really, really, probably the best meal that I've ever had, was because I had it with my dad. It was just me and him, which was probably a very rare occurrence. And I was also, when I was younger, kind of nervous to have those meals with my dad, because there was always my mom there who I was a lot more close with, talking, and she would always, be kind of the lively one of the group. So I was always nervous just to kind of eat with my dad, because I felt like it would just be awkward. But my dad was off of work one day, and I was off of school. Mom was out of the house, and he said, "You want to go out to eat?" And I was shocked, and I said, "Yeah, let's go." And I was maybe 16 or 15 at the time, pretty young. And we went out to Red Lobster, which is not a very fancy restaurant at all. But we went there and we sat at one of those really high tables, those chairs that are like super high, that you have to like kind of jump and do a little twist on and be all like an acrobat trying to get up there. And, we got up there and it was really loud and bustling. And whenever we're sitting at one of those tables, it feels like we're kind of in the center of attention. I don't like to be in the center of attention. So I was like, oh man. But when I was there with my dad, it felt like it was just normal. I felt so good sitting at that table, just me and him. And we ordered some rolls, these like unlimited garlic rolls, and we had surf and turf, each of us, and we just loved it. I think it was a combination of like we were really hungry and it was just hitting the spot. We were just eating and we were laughing and we were just talking about, the restaurant and how good the food was, and we were just talking about his business, which he never talks about, and it was just a really, really good time. But yeah, I'm going to try not to edit too much of this video, but I feel like I have to edit a little bit here and there. It's just... I miss you, Dad. I was there. Yeah. I was there for his final moments in this world. I got to tell him and talk to him as he left. I held his hand and tried to comfort him as much as I could. I never wanted to see him like that. My last memories of him, I always wanted him to be this really powerful figure that I've always seen him as. But seeing him in that state was very hard. But I knew that that time was not about me. Was not for me. It was for him. I wanted to be there for him. I didn't care how much it made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't want not to be there because of how I felt. These were his last moments. So I tried to be there for him as much as I could and comfort him as he left. I saw tears in his eyes at his last moments, which I don't know if that's just a natural process, but I do believe if someone does have tears in their eyes, is that they're feeling. And they're feeling hard and they're feeling strong. And if they're feeling, that means they're human and that they have a heart. And I wanted to believe that my last moments with my dad was a very meaningful and emotional feeling time that we shared together there. The nurses and doctors, I just want to mention, were incredible. They were probably the hardest working people I've ever seen, and so compassionate and kind and patient. I know that they're going through so much and they're dealing with so much, but just their love and their sincerity was really being shown through the whole process, the few weeks that my dad was in the ICU. And I just can't thank them enough. Just how much love and care they showed for my family and I, for my dad. And I really thank you, people that are in the medical fields and behind the scenes, ahead of the scenes, just everyone that's helping the clock go and the gears turn. Thank you so much. You guys are doing really great work. I know it's hard. I know it's very, very tough there. You guys are working really hard, and I just cannot thank you enough, So thank you for that. I don't even know what the purpose of this video was, but I feel better, guys. I feel better being able to just talk about my feelings and my dad a little bit. I always wanted my dad to be on a YouTube video, and he was really excited to be on one after I made one with my mom, and I should have done it earlier and sooner. I just don't know. There's a lot of reasons, of course, I could name off, just excuses, but they're all just excuses. I should have had him on. but I wanted to at least dedicate one video for him, just one to my father. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time and just watching and listening. And I'm going to be okay, guys. I'm going to really be okay. I've been receiving a lot of messages from friends and family. I really just, if you guys are watching, thank you so much also. It's been overwhelming, this whole process. Some days I just want to hide and not see the sunlight. Some days I want to go out and scream. And some days I just want to laugh and play video games all day. And it's just been a roller coaster of emotions, but I really appreciate the support and love. Always, guys. Always the love. The love is so important. And you just gotta get through it, I know that there's been a lot of lost loved ones around. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you've lost a loved one. I'm sorry if you felt the pain. And I just hope that you know that you're not alone. You're not alone, and you can get through this. I'm going to get through this. It's going to be just a growing experience. It's part of life, unfortunately, and it's a hard part of life. Anyways, I gotta end this video, guys. I'm sorry if it was depressing. I'm sorry if it was sad. I'm sorry if it was just something that you did not want to hear, but this is kind of a more selfish video for me, and thank you for watching and listening. I appreciate it. Much love. One love. I'll be seeing you guys later, guys.